All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's hit 12 o'clock, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Jeff Ray, the President and CEO of Southland Regional Chamber. Thank you for joining us today for our networking at lunch. Like all of the past year, we'd prefer to be in person. Unfortunately, being in person, we're pretty close to that, but just not quite there yet. So we thought we'd try at least one more chance to get together there virtually. We know that networking is an important piece of why you join the chamber and are members, and it's a little hard to network over Zoom, but we appreciate you joining us to just hear a little bit. What I think today are some great entrepreneurial success stories in our community. And so we're going to get into our discussion in just a second. I want to say thank you first to the team over at Gibson for their help. Gibson is our sponsor for our Networking at Lunch series. Many of you come to know them over the last couple of years, but Gibson does some amazing work in the insurance space. And they will join us a little bit later, I think, to say at the end of our meeting, just to say hello real quick. But I encourage you, if you have insurance needs in your business, to think about talking to the Gibson team, whether it's health insurance or such. They've got a talented team over there. And if you want to do like Gibson and team up with the chamber on different things, feel free to reach out to us. We love those co-branding opportunities that we have, and we love the opportunity to team up with you. So we've got a distinguished panel today. It's interesting when we do networking at lunch. Sometimes we've had one speaker. Today we thought we'd try a couple, and so we've got three great local entrepreneurs. Familiar faces, I'm sure, to you, but for those of you who don't know, Peg Dalton. Peg is the owner, proprietor extraordinaire over at Peg's in downtown South Bend, celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. And Peg has most recently been honored as our Small Business of the Year as well. So Peg, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I've got Vicky Holland with us. Vicky Holland from the president over at Pathfinders over in Mishawaka off of I should know. I'm drawing a blank on the Fur Road, right?
No, Park Avenue. You're close.
I'm close. Boy, you'd think I spent a few years over there. I could remember a few of those streets, but Pathfinders is a name that you're all familiar with. Have been in the community for a long time, and I'll let Vicky tell you more about it here in just a second. And then Florance, Charles from Indiana Whiskey, and another a great brand that has emerged on the scene here in recent years. And we just wanted the three of them to come and talk to us a little bit about just kind of their business, their industry, what's been happening there over the last couple of years, ways that they've had to pivot. Just our hope is that there's some inspiration for you as you're thinking about your businesses and how you've adapted. And Peg, I'm going to put you on the spot first and come your way. And I think in particular, over the last 12 months, restaurants have been hit as hard or harder than anybody else because of people being limited in terms of being able to go out because of the pandemic, because of gathering limits, all that kind of stuff. So can you talk to us just a little bit about your business, excuse me, and a little bit about what you've been through this last year?
Sure. So 2019 was our best year ever in our first 19 years. Finished the year real strong and started off 2020 also very strong. Our February of 2020 was our busiest month ever. So you can imagine where we were. And this was on the heels of an expansion. We took on a loan to do the expansion. And we had that presidential candidate and all of his campaign workers right across the street, and times were good. So things were really, really good, very strong going into 2020. And at the time, we were so grateful for what was happening. And then looking back on it, we knew that what happened in the 2019 and the end of 2020 was really just positioning us to be okay to handle what was coming that we didn't know was coming, right? So we closed for 2 months and laid off 37 employees. When we I can't run my business virtually, right? Like many people can. So we had to make a hard decision to just close. It wasn't going to work for us to do carry out. It just wasn't part of our model. And we knew that it would be better to just close. So then we took that time. I took a couple weeks off, which doesn't happen in my business. And took a couple weeks off with my partner, Kelly Coppola, who has just been a tremendous, tremendous support. I don't know what I would have done without her, again, through this period especially. she's an accountant by trade. So it was really critical that I had her by my side. So every decision we made, stepping back to what we called our new normal, we never wanted to step backwards, and we always wanted to keep our staff and our customers safe. And so literally every decision that we would start to make, we would say, are we going to have to step backwards from this? And are we keeping our people safe? And that was kind of our core to move through things. And I feel like we've done an outstanding job of doing that. And we've just been really, really blessed by the community, by a strong staff that has stuck by us, and they've worked their tails off. We are now part of that group that operates shorthanded all the time. So I don't know if that's enough to tell you.
Yeah, that's great, Peg. And I think a great way to get us started, and we'll obviously come back to you with some more. And Vicky, let me come your way. So you have, kind of this one, love for you to tell us about Pathfinders for those who don't know. And then two, talk about, kind of your challenge. You sort of have two things you have to worry about, right? You've got your own business in terms of got to keep it running and keep my employees employed and stuff. But you also are in the service business where you have a bunch of clients who are contemplating how to navigate this. So talk a little bit like Peg did about kind of your year this last year and what that looked like.
So I'm going to mirror what Peg started with. Is our 2019 was fabulous. We've had 20 plus years of upward trajectory, and 2019 was no different. As we were heading into 2020, our forecasts were double-digit growth. We had been doing a lot of enhancements from process and organizational. We were growing dramatically in the areas of social and digital and video and media. And so we had also not only made a lot of positive organizational changes, we had hired a lot of people because we needed to be able to then service those areas of our business really well for our clients. So, we went into 2019 raring to go based on everything that we knew. It was also a great year because in February we were named Small Business of the Year here locally. So that was fun. And then literally, 3 weeks later, everything was shutting down. So from a company standpoint, we'd pondered remote work policies for several years, but obviously the pandemic forced us to do it basically within 24 hours. So I had to move 70 people out of a fully functioning, highly technical office to their homes. And make sure that they could be connected and get everything that they needed. And my team was fabulous. Everyone jumped in, everyone did what needed to get done. Literally within 24 hours, we were in business again. So nothing really paused us. So, as March progressed, and, again, all of us were like, is this 2 weeks? Is this 3 weeks? We were in the weeks standpoint. We weren't thinking months or even a year. But as Peg said as well, it was, first and foremost, the safety of our people. We had to make sure that they were safe and in the right place. And that has continued to be our focus. We are still not back in the office. We've not mandated that at this point. So I would say probably 90% of our office is still remote. But to your point, Jeff, as it relates to our clients' business, unfortunately, marketing tends to be the first budget. Everyone cuts when data shows it should be actually the last budget that you cut. But I think it's easiest to go there. So, we hit April and May and seeing our own monthly revenues drop, 40 to 50%. There was no way that we were going to disband this amazing team that we had brought together. That just wasn't even an option. So, we talked a lot about extending our runway. That was kind of the language that we kept using as leadership here at Pathfinders. We've got to do all of the things we can to extend that runway. Whether that was 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, we wanted to make sure that everything that we were doing would keep our team in place, keep servicing our clients the Pathfinder way, and delivering on their safety every day too. So every decision we made collectively with the team. We were extremely communicative with the team, making sure that they understood what we were doing, why we were doing, when we were doing it. From an organization, we even, asked people we did a agency-wide pay cut. So anywhere from 30% down to 5%. And any percentage hurts when you like to get your salary. But the team was in because everyone wanted to keep the team together. That was very, very important. So, and we made sure we had that PPP loan information in, very quickly so that we had the opportunity for that. But, it definitely has been challenging. But, we made sure that we just kept pushing forward. We were helping our clients be more innovative, helping them think differently than their current business models. Clients that were not necessarily in the digital mindset are now a lot more digitally savvy. And a lot of the work that we've done with them really helped push that forward for them as well.
Great. Thanks, Vicky. Appreciate the introduction. We'll come back to you, obviously, too, with some more questions, too. And Charles, I'm going to come your way. So a relatively new, not new anymore, but, kind of newer, probably both Vicky and Peg talked about, the past 20 years, but you're a little newer to the scene. But Indiana Whiskey has become kind of a well-known name and brand here in South Bend. And so you're still, as you're in the early stages and growing your business and such, the pandemic comes along. So talk a little bit about, kind of the last year for you and what that's looked like.
Well, we did a pretty substantial pivot in March of 2020. But, before that, our core business has always been, can we make world-class whiskeys from Indiana ingredients and sell them for an honest price? And over the past 8 years or so, I think we've really perfected the method of doing that. And unfortunately, the pandemic hurt so many of our partners. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you guys can recognize that, even as alcohol consumption did go up during the pandemic and our volumes went up through package stores, our great package store partners like Belmont, Citywide, and Mega do great business. But the real reputation of a brand, at least in the spirits community, is through your on-premise retail partners. And so whenever Peg struggles, or whenever Mark McDonald struggles, or Kurt Janowski struggles, we feel that pain too, because we recognize that, not just that we're losing sales, we're losing reputation possibilities through those partners, but also we see them hurting. Mm-hmm. And we know that their collaboration and their participation in the community is so vital. So once the pandemic came, we actually were contacted by the Taxation and Trade Bureau to basically say, hey, can you guys produce and distribute hand sanitizers? And so we abruptly halted all whiskey production at that point and ended up making about 23,000 gallons of hand sanitizer. And clearly couldn't have done that alone. If it wasn't for Alan Brown over at Liebermuth or the team over at Maverick Packaging, there's just no way we could have executed on it. But, moral of the story is whoever needed a free bottle of hand sanitizer, come get it from us. And so I think that really helped us, solidify the reputational losses that we were suffering through the loss of our, fantastic retail partners during the pandemic.
We have your sanitizer all over the office, just so you know.
Oh,
it's everywhere.
What, Vicky, thank you so much because the companies that could pay for it and that were willing to purchase it were absolutely subsidizing the free stuff we were giving out. So Vicky, thank you. It really means a lot.
Our pleasure.
I thought she was going to say she had your whiskey all over the office.
That's a different drawer.
Yeah. I'm kidding. No, appreciate the quick introductions. And we're not going to dwell completely on the pandemic, but I want to spend a little bit more time. I want to go back, Peg, your way. And so you talked about, kind of the beginning, the shutdown, the let go of some employees. I think then, I'm thinking back to last summer where we were kind of hopeful that things were behind us and you're kind of wrestling with this decision to open back up, to bring people back to work, to open. You've got some capacity limits. It's now costing you more to open. So talk about kind of things that you might have done in anticipation last summer to get back to work, and what some of your greatest challenges were as you were reopening.
Sure. Throughout the entire reopening until yesterday, and continuing on, the biggest challenge is the staffing. So I always say, they're our biggest challenge, but they're our biggest asset, right? So, and it's not, it's all facets of that. Several working moms who are now having virtual school with their children, and so many things changed for the staff. So we just pulled the staff weekly, probably starting 2 or 3 weeks before we were ready to begin reopening. What can you do? What's going to work for you? What would you like to see different now that was happening before? What kind of changes would you like to see? And we pulled the whole staff and all of the managers, and knew that was critical for us to have them as a part of all of the decisions that we made. And what do you feel comfortable with? So when we first reopened, we were only outside, and our inside became a staging area where we sanitized everything. The sanitizing part, as restaurants, we already had great practices in place, but now we had to really kick it up a notch. And we didn't sanitize our coffee carafes in between use all the time. I mean, that's just the outside of them. We cleaned the inside. We didn't sanitize the outside. You know what I mean? I mean, so there were so many steps of things that people touched that we had to then take so much more time and be more cautious with. And so it has also put in place many practices that we'll continue to use. But it was a real gradual open. And as I said, we never wanted to step backwards. So when we would say, is it time to add Wednesdays? Well, let's evaluate. So now we call all of the downtown offices every couple of weeks. How many people are in your office now? Who's back? Who's going to eat lunch? Who's going to eat breakfast? And that's how we made those decisions. Thank God for our expansion. That bought us more patio space. So and Bruno's and Edible Arrangements, come on over, Peg. We were putting inside tables outside, and the city was kind and letting us expand and not worry about the official permit for the outside seating. The excise was kind as well and said, we're going to, give you a little leniency, because honestly, being able to sell alcohol on the entire patio, which we hadn't been able to in the past, made a big difference for us. There's, a lot more money to be made on mimosas than on eggs. So,
as you should.
Right. So we had to really, make all of those decisions like I said, to not ever step backwards. So we are still, we're a 5-day-a-week business. And we also then, as we continue to add, we added a little bit of evening hours on Friday and Saturday. And that's allowed us to capture mostly youth sports, their families and the kids on the weekends. That's a big part of our business. We haven't quite seen South Bend young families to the numbers that we want, but that's because they're not necessarily comfortable to come out yet. So we know it'll be there. We likely will never open again on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. To all of you that come and tap on the door when I'm in the restaurant on Tuesdays and Wednesdays getting my work done that I can't get done on the other days because I'm bussing tables, right? We may not ever open. Most weeks that's a weekend for me and for the rest of the staff, which is greatly needed. If you've ever operated a 7-day-a-week business, that time is needed. It's hard to get it all done. It's particularly hard to get it all done right now. So that is for sure our silver lining for myself and for the staff, that we have a weekend. It's just not Saturday and Sunday. It's Tuesday and Wednesday. So
Great. Vicky, I'm going to come your way. You talked a little bit about making that pivot very quickly in a 24-hour period to send people home, and having so many of them still at home. I think, obviously a lot of good things happen in the office, the collisions that happen with folks, the conversation around the water cooler as you're solving a problem and stuff. Can you talk to us a little bit about just some of the things you might have done in the workforce to make the remote piece work so well, whether it be, kind of the regular interactions, how you connected with employees? help our folks that are watching understand some of the things you've done to really make that virtual work a success.
No, that's a great question. And Charles and I were chatting about that even before the meeting started. And I joked that, I could solve a lot of problems or help a lot of people, 10 to 15 people from my office to the kitchen just by those simple words, "You got a minute?" Now we had implemented Teams probably a year before the pandemic. So we were already very familiar with that platform. Obviously, we weren't as familiar with it using the conferencing and visual aspects of it because we didn't need to. We were all here in the same place. So Teams has been a big part of, our ability to collaborate. We also, have weekly, agency-wide meetings. So every Monday, the entire agency is there, where we talk about updates, positive things, changes, things to expect. Our supervisors have, daily, weekly interactions with their team so that, information is continually filtering down. Like Peg, I mean, we really had to focus on upping up our communication and keeping our staff safe and comfortable. And we had to be super flexible. You say working remote is flexible enough, but a lot of our staff have young families. So they've got their pets, they've got their kids, they've got the remote learning. I mean, it was insanity. So we just wanted to make sure it's like relax, get what needs to get done. And everything, Pathfinders will get done, but you have to focus on your family. You've got to focus on the things that, are really important. I have a saying, we're not curing cancer here at Pathfinders. We're doing ads, so let's put that in perspective and focus where the focus needs to be. And, I also want to come back to some of the positivity. I shared that we had done a lot of the right things to get to, the fiscal responsibility and watching our dollars. But, I was happy to say because the team really pulled together, and we helped our clients, we brought on quite a bit of new business, believe it or not, during that time frame, but maybe that's a different topic. But we were able to return everyone's salary 8 weeks sooner than we thought we were going to. And then at the end of the year, we were able to give back all lost wages during that time period. So, again, super focused on wanting to make sure that all of their efforts were appreciated and that we put the money back in their pockets, really where it belonged. So I'm very, very proud of that. Have I answered enough of the question or is there more?
Yeah, I think that's good. And well, I think you've prompted a few more and I'll come back
Perfect.
For you. So Charles, let me come your way because I think of your world a little bit. You've talked about the pivot. You still want to make your core product because there's demand. You want to assist on this, but at the same time, there's limitations on getting out, gathering. Probably impacts your sales or your chance to get into new stores or new markets. And then you, my guess, have some of the same challenges that Peg and Vicky have highlighted about employees who are trying to be teachers and principals and stuff at home school and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about how you've adapted to a few of those things.
Yeah, in manufacturing, and I'm sure anybody who works manufacturing can testify to it, you have to be there for the work to get done. And so it definitely creates some scheduling challenges. What was nice about the hand sanitizer operation in the summertime was that we were kind of inundated with volunteers, volunteers from the IU School of Medicine, volunteers from Bethel College, volunteers from even the school corporation who wanted to be able to help participate in a solution. So they would help bottle the material. They would help get it out to their own organizations. They would help get it out to the health departments. And so I would say, without the help of the volunteer spirit, I mean, there's no way we could have delivered on the success we did for the summer of 2020. And to answer the rest of the question, Jeff, I'm honestly not sure. I'm not sure how we ever could have expected to rely on our team the way we have, and the way they've all sort of dug deep. And I see a lot of nods. I mean, you guys must see it in your organizations every day. I mean, you're sort of finding new depths that people are willing to sort of just scrape out the next level of effort to make sure that the core stuff gets done. Mm-hmm. And then I think you're seeing a lot more management and leadership recognizing that if it's not core, we can kick it down the road a little bit.
Yes.
And I think that that's probably been our saving grace, recognizing that we can stop whiskey production completely. Now, unfortunately, in another year and a half, we might see a little dip in our inventory. But with the nature of our business, we got to keep it on the shelf for a few years before we sell it. So there was no pressing urgency to get the whiskey produced last summer. And so just making that shift, I think, was helpful for us. I realized the RV industry and some other just-in-time manufacturers don't have that luxury. And for us, Jeff, you talk about us as a young company. We've been around for 8 years, but it's only in the last couple of years that our real highest quality products have been available because it just takes that long to deliver. So, with that being said, I think that we were uniquely positioned to cope with that changeover a little more.
Great. Peg, I want to come your way, and I want to. So obviously, through any crisis or opportunity, businesses learn lessons, and you've talked briefly about some things you'll do differently. For example, staying closed on Tuesday and Wednesday and stuff. But talk about other things that you've learned that will sort of change how you do business in the future, whether it be outdoor dining or carry out or better technology for ordering or whatever. Talk about those kind of pivots you've made and that are going to really help you more long term.
Right. Well, to tag along a little bit about what Charles said in understanding the urgency and what the real purpose of the business is and how we can flex when we need to. We are a restaurant, so it is important that we're serving you food, right? That's a really important part of what we do. But for my restaurant, it is not the most important part of what we do. What we do is engage and establish relationships and collaborate. And those parts of our business are so important and become more obviously important to us now. So when, for example, right now we are short-staffed, so we will at times have tables open and we're asking you to wait 5 or 10 minutes because we can't service you how we want to service you. So we have to adjust. I particularly have to adjust because I don't like seeing empty tables, right? But I have to understand and be reminded that the most important part is that people have a great experience. So even on a Thursday weekday, when we only have 3 servers, because that's what it is, then I have to ask people to wait. And if you can't wait, that's okay. We'll see you again. And I know that. I'd rather tell you when you walk in the door that you're waiting than have you sit and have a bad experience, right? So we have achieved great things at the restaurant. As I've said, I feel super blessed and to get the Small Business Award and to have been around 20 years. We're pretty solid, I think, in our reputation. And now we need to understand the real importance is celebrating these relationships. Last Saturday, we were probably about 20 minutes over our wait quote. So that means if I asked you to wait 45 minutes, it's now been about an hour and 5 minutes, and I'm still asking you to wait for your table because for one reason or another, it's just not turning like we thought it would. So at that point, I make a little announcement in the lobby, say, here's the batting order, because there are actually some Cubs players waiting for tables. Here it is. And if you can't wait, I'm sorry, but if you can, I really appreciate it. Let's pause for a minute and go sing to this couple that's going off to get married. And we go sing, Go Into the Chapel. And it brings everybody down a notch to go, these are the important things. And it's more a shift in, I've always known it was important, but I've put it as a higher priority now, and my staff sees that. And I take the time to talk to the staff about what's happening in their personal lives. I've realized more and more how important it is that I understand that they are an arm of who I am, and they're the ones really connecting with the customers. And if I show them the time and the care and some coaching real early on in their employment, that's going to carry me further than I can ever imagine. So that I kind of forget the original question, but that is a huge shift for us and for me. And I can tend to be pretty demanding and really want to go after the highest sales we can go after, but that's not what it's about. And in the end, when we're singing, going to the chapel, that's going to get us way more than, having a 45-minute table turn. So.
Peg, I want to do a quick follow up with you. And so you mentioned earlier, you were talking about being in contact with downtown businesses. Obviously, you're an important gathering place. People have business meetings there, their breakfast meetings, lunch meetings there. And as people weren't working in offices, they weren't meeting for that. There's some fear, I think, amongst businesses that will we go back to that? Are we also hooked on Zoom, that we're going to conduct meetings like that in the future instead of that breakfast meeting, down the block? What's your thought on what the future looks like in that space?
Right. So we see more and more meetings, and thankfully, so now we're Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is the only time you can have a business meeting at the restaurant typically. So people have adjusted. And I said Tuesday, I meant Monday, Thursday, Friday. So people have adjusted. So now we're having Mondays that were like Thursdays, and Thursdays that are Fridays, and Fridays that are Saturdays, sales wise, right? So people are adjusting for us right now. I see that. So that's great. And then the other piece of it, when people weren't meeting at all, because they are starting to meet now, so we opened our expansion in January of 2020. So, a year and a couple months ago, every day I hear, wow, your expansion looks great. So I know these people haven't been out. And then I hear an apology. I'm like, it's been a funny year. It's okay that you haven't been here, So it's a real tracking device for me to know that the people that haven't been out in well over a year, and now they're starting to come out because they're vaccinated, because they're more comfortable and that kind of thing. So I am hopeful. I know I'm hopeful. In fact, this April is busier than April of 2019. So fingers crossed, we're moving in the right direction. And I'm hopeful that for all of us. And if I'm not open on Tuesday, I'm opening the door and telling people where to go and who is open on Tuesday, because I want my new neighbors. There are several new neighbors. I want them to succeed. They can have Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll take Monday. So.
Great. Thank you, Peg. Appreciate that. Vicky, I'm going to come back your way. So let's talk about your business. So you two have, as you've pivoted, have learned lessons and will operate differently a little bit in the future. So talk about some of those specific things that you think are going to be maybe the new normal in the office workplace or in the marketing, advertising industry going forward.
So our business is twofold, and Steve has really held this, to us for 42 years. And Pathfinders is a place for careers, and it's a place for our partners to help them move their business forward. And that is something that we think about every single day. So we, making sure we're having those careers and we're helping our clients are kind of the two most important things we do. And that's had to change a lot, as you can imagine. So our company is national. Our clients take us from California to New York and everywhere in between. And one of the biggest, things that has shifted is we don't get to sit across the table anymore. I mean, we would be on planes and in cars and at our clients' businesses for, 2 and 3 days at a time, or for a full day session. So I think that, losing out on that part of the relationship has been difficult, especially in a relationship-based business. But again, Teams and Zoom have definitely jumped in there. But, I think a big change for Pathfinders has been in our staffing. So we, things started getting really churning again in Q4. We were starting to see where things were going, and it was a positive trajectory again. We were in the midst of onboarding 8 new clients, and our clients who had gotten a little sleepy because of spend started coming awake. So we started investing again in additional people and additional programs and things we were doing to really make sure we were ready for that influx. And so even if I invited my entire agency back to work tomorrow, only 60% of my staff would walk in the door, because The other 40% of my staff today is now fully remote. So I have employees in New York. I have employees in Atlanta. I have employees in Arizona. It's kind of mind-boggling when I look at where those people are. So that is a huge pivot for Pathfinders, that remote in this past year has taught us that not only can we work remotely successfully, but we can hire high performing talent with agency experience from anywhere. And so it's been exciting to, work with these people that have, that come with a lot of other agency experience, and bring them on as part of the team, here at Pathfinders. So that was definitely a big pivot for us. And the idea of a flexible workplace is still going to be a part of our new normal moving forward. Again, we haven't, fully put into place what that looks like, but because we now know we will. So, if someone wants to work from home on a Friday and be in the office Monday through Thursday, great. We have a lot of trust and faith in our team, and they have never proven us wrong. They never missed a beat with deadlines and quality deliverables over this past year. And I wouldn't expect that to change moving forward.
Great. Vicky, I'm going to stay with you for a second too, because I'm curious maybe about your clients a little bit. You talked, that sometimes the first inclination during a tough time maybe is to cut sort of what they're doing on, marketing or advertising or promotion kind of stuff. And it sounds like, things are going well and you're having a good year and those clients are busy. What are some of the things that clients have recognized that they need to do a better job of, that maybe they didn't do as well, but maybe the pandemic sort of illuminated that, and that's and maybe you've stepped in and helped fill a role for them there?
No, that's great. I think a lot of it has to be, helping them understand it is about that consistent drumbeat of messaging, because if you go silent for 4, 6, 8 months, your competitors potentially are making noise. And so, getting people, even if you can't spend at the levels you were perhaps spending at before, look for ways not to go radio silent. And that was tough for a lot of our clients to even, find little bits of budget to keep that continuity in play. I think another big area, as I mentioned earlier, is really helping clients understand the importance of our digital landscape and marketing automation, and the importance of good content, and getting people to you in a variety of ways outside of placing ads. Leaning into social media. It's just really opened up their eyes to things a lot of clients weren't prepared to shift to. And again, in our world, it's a very data friendly business, and so it's also fun to not only show clients case studies of data that showed how it worked, but then to be able to come back to them month over month and show them the incremental increases in their business, and seeing the light bulbs go off that, okay, I believe you now. And like I said, as we're moving into, further into 2021, we are certainly still working it. I don't want to give the impression that everything is coming up roses. We're still working, really hard every single day. I think everything that we have projected out and planned has definitely been happening, which is great. But, we've had some clients that have had to, they reset their budgets, but they've already had to cut them again because of, supply chain issues or this or that. So there's still a little bit of up and down for us. It's kind of like 2 steps forward, maybe 3.5 steps back. And so, I'm really confident that by the end of 2021, we should be back to where we'd like to be and our clients would like to be. But it definitely has been a dance.
Great. Thank you, Vicky. Charles, I want to come your way and talk about just sort of Indiana whiskey moving forward and sort of the things the pandemic has taught you that might, sort of change the way you do business in the future.
Okay. Well, so we're actually transitioning a little bit of our operation naturally at the beginning of 2020. Matt Logston, who had worked for the organization for 3 or 4 years, had taken over the reins of all the day-to-day operations and was appointed president halfway through the year last year. And so that was already sort of a philosophical change in sort of how we were going to do our day-to-day operations and, what roles everyone was going to play and how the decisions were being made. I think the pandemic added a little bit of flexibility with that, because knowing that we had to then watch 2 different sets of operations, we had to make sure that the hand sanitizer was going out with the highest quality, with the highest make rate, and the messaging had to be distinctive, certainly. And then, of course, taxation was a very big difference. Peg, you had mentioned your partner's background as a CPA, and we were desperate for ways to change the way that our alcohol production was taxed for excise purposes versus using it for hand sanitizers. So we had to keep some of those records a little differently. Now, Jeff, I think the real impact to our day-to-day business was that we were seeing so much suffering from our retail partners. I mean, the package stores were doing great. I think package stores were up between 50 and 60% last year, at least in terms of the volumes we were seeing through them. But the on-premise retailers, where you go for cocktails, after a long, hard day at work, or, meeting your friends on the weekend, those things just weren't happening anymore. And I still think we're going to see an impact to that. I know there's some latent demand for it, but it's not like we can all go out and drink 10 martinis next weekend. I mean, maybe some folks can, but I know I sure don't have the legs for it. So I think that there's going to be some lasting impact, how our partners are able to bounce back from that. And I think I had mentioned earlier in this conversation that certainly the volume and the bulk of our fixed costs and things like that can be solved through distribution to our off-premise retail partners, our package stores, our grocery stores. But the real reputation of the brand comes from partnering with creative on-premise retail partners. And I think that forms a much larger challenge. We're going to have to lean much more heavily on teams like Vicky's team, where they're going to have to show our message in different ways, because we won't have those same consumer touch points in Indianapolis or in Evansville or in the other regions that Indiana whiskey is flourishing. We just don't have those same conversations. So I think that's probably the biggest impact, Jeff. Yeah.
So Charles, for those who aren't as familiar, so talk to us a little bit about just sort of the reach of Indiana whiskey, both sort of in those package stores and in those restaurants and on-site experience. Where's your customer base?
Well, Jeff, people can find us anywhere throughout the state of Indiana, and we're investigating whether or not we're going to go into other states. Unfortunately, we still don't make enough whiskey to keep everybody happy. But we're trying to make more and more every day. So in terms of where to find it from now on, our distributor, Indiana Small Batch, actually has a location finder on their website. And so you can just plug in your zip code and find the retailers that are carrying it. Like I said, the challenge, though, is the on-premise retailers that may have been carrying it may not exist anymore, or they may have limited hours, or they may be feeling other pressures. And so I think, I think everyone's just got to be sensitive to that. And I'm actually really buoyed by what Peg was saying about the community sort of rising up to recognize those challenges and meeting you on those terms and saying, well, if I can't come see you on Wednesday, I'll come see you, 2 Thursdays this month instead of 1 Wednesday. And I think, as long as we can all get together and recognize the challenges and do our best to make it work, then I think we'll do well.
Great. Thanks, Charles. Peg, I want to come back your way and talk workforce for a minute, because I can't turn on the news or drive down the street without folks wrestling with that challenge of finding folks. You obviously, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, have to help differentiate yourself from other employers who want the same employees to come work for them sometimes. Talk about what differentiates PEGS from other employers when for job seekers.
Well, probably the biggest thing right now is I'm pretty sure I'm the only owner bussing tables. And honestly, one of the last girls I hired as a server was in on a short staff Monday, and on her way out said, "Are you hiring?" I said, what made you think we were hiring? So she and two others that I hired with her said, "Never seen an owner work like I saw you working on that day." And I'm not saying that it's one of the differences for some of us. My feet are on the ground in that restaurant 99% of our open hours right now, and then some after that, right? So if you think that we need more cooler space and you're going to tell me about it, I'm going to make it happen. If you think it makes sense to leave the ketchups on the table when we never did that before, I'm going to make it happen. You know what I mean? These little things that the staff has ideas that will make operations better and easier for a limited staff. I'm doing everything I can to make that better. And again, I've always been very, very involved in the day-to-day operations. But I'm even more so now and more in touch than I ever have been. And I've had PEGS for 20 years, but I've had 15 years experience prior to that. I'm working pretty hard right now. So that is one thing that makes a difference. I want my employees to be happy. I always have. Now I'm there every day finding ways to make the staff happier. And that is not just money, but money is a big part of it. So we're doing everything we can to make sure we're putting more money in everybody's pockets. And we were able to get the PPP loans right away. Again, thank God for my partner who could do that. It would have been a real challenge for me I would have been paying somebody a lot of money to help me do that, because I couldn't do that and do what I'm doing at the same time. So,
right.
So to put money in their pockets and to schedule how they need things scheduled, and to continuously tell the team we all need to work together. So if so-and-so has to be home to school her children on Thursday, she's still going to get a good shift on Friday, because that's the way it is. And I will do the same for you when you need those accommodations in your scheduling. Scheduling is really, the people that I employ are very different than the people that Vicky employs. They don't just live paycheck to paycheck. They live day to day. Today is paying my water bill, right? And we showed them, when we laid them off, we went to First Bank and wrote a big fat check and got cash and handed it to all of them. And then we did that a second time with the good faith that we were going to figure it out. And I did have to do some convincing with my partner, the accountant, right? She just wasn't 100% sure that was a great decision, but it has paid off. They are with us. And as both Vicky and Charles said, I'm amazed at what they give and continue to give every day. It's one thing for me to do it, right? My name's on the building. I should be working that hard, but to see them right alongside me, many times working harder than I am, it's unbelievable. And so, to answer the original question, I try to be very, very welcoming, accommodating with schedule and money, and hope that we do a referral program with our current staff, and that's where we get the majority of our employees is through employee referrals. So they get a bonus when they refer someone, and they want to bring on like people and hard workers. So that works out very well for us. So we still have a few slots to fill, but we're getting there, and I'm confident that we're going to rise out of this whole thing stronger. So.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Peg. Charles, similar question. You're trying to differentiate yourself from other employers. You need a certain skill level to do your job there. What differentiates you amongst all the help wanted signs people would see up and down the street?
Oh, Jeff, that's a really good question. I know it's not for the charisma of their leadership. It's, I think we've been actually really lucky when it comes to staffing. There's just a little bit of an extra sort of appeal to manufacturing a product like whiskey, because people will see it on the shelves out in the community, and they'll realize that they have their fingerprints all over the making of it. I think it also has kind of an appeal to younger folks who maybe haven't settled on a career yet and want to dabble a little bit in manufacturing. And so, technically we've got 2 trained chemists working for us. And so the sort of the heavy lifting in terms of SOPs and recipe creation's already been done. We just want enthusiasm. And I know Peg had mentioned this. We want people to feel like they're welcome, that, if we truly are an Indiana whiskey, that we are embracing Hoosier hospitality and we are embracing what it means to be a meaningful member of the community. And so I think those values, I think, are incredibly attractive to the job seekers that we're looking for. And so, I mean, whether it's Joe, Sean, Matt, anybody else on the team, they've just been incredible, and we look forward to seeing more like them.
Vicky, I'm going to come your way for a final word on this, because you not only are competing with a lot of firms here locally for that talent, but as you mentioned, you now have employees around the country, so you're competing there too. So talk about how you differentiate yourself as an employer versus other people in similar industry.
So it's been really great. So from between October and as early as last week, we've onboarded another 24 people here at Pathfinders. And I always like to check in with new people and find out, how is the onboarding going? And do you feel that what you heard on interview number 1 is true throughout your process? And that is something that I am hearing. And I love that. It's like, from your website to the way you handled interviewing, to the way we met people, to the way onboarding happened and training, everything delivers on who Pathfinders says they are in every conversation. And, here we call that the Pathfinder way, because we don't know any other way. We are, a welcoming, high performing organization. We absolutely have very high expectations, but everyone wants to help everyone else succeed here. A lot of agencies can be very cutthroat. It's all about billable, 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 billable. Here for us, it really is about helping our clients move their business forward. And sometimes that means telling them not to do something with us, maybe to even go do something completely different. And so that might be short-term loss for us, but long-term gain to the relationship that we have. So the hiring that we're doing nationwide that's taking place, what we're hearing from these people is, many of them are coming from very large agencies, anywhere from, 1,000 and up, and they just were tired of that sort of a grind. And the idea of working for a mid-size agency with Midwestern values really resonated with them. And we do have national clients, so they get the excitement of, a PayPal, a Fifth Third Bank, and Amway, while, having a group of people that really care about each other. So I think that's really been our success here.
Great. Thank you. And thank you again to all 3 of you for joining us today. I think what we had hoped to accomplish was just sharing some local success stories and hopefully some inspiration for other business leaders that are watching. Obviously, each of you have navigated the difficulty last few months in different ways, but our community is stronger for it. And we're grateful for your willingness to be with us today and share some stories. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you to those of you that have tuned in today to watch. We're again grateful for the opportunity for networking at lunch. Again, we try to do this about 4 times a year, where we bring you some relevant conversation about things that are happening in the community. We hope you've enjoyed today's program. Couldn't do it without great partners. Becky Beckman from Gibson is joining us here as well. Becky, I'll turn to you for a quick word there as we're getting ready to wrap up.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate it. Sorry for tuning in a little late, guys. We had an event this morning over here at Gibson, so had a little overlapping schedule, but we're always so proud to be such a good partner to the chamber, and we think it's so important to get out the good word, and thanks to Vicky and Charles and Peg. We love you guys over here at Gibson and support all of your businesses. And Charles, I need to get to know you better, it sounds like, so I look forward to that. But so just thanks for letting Gibson be involved and being a great partner. I think that's what it's all about. Like everyone's been talking about over the last 12 months and continuing forward. So thanks, Jeff.
Great. Thanks, Becky. Thanks for the partnership. Appreciate all that you and the team over there do to help elevate our community as well. One quick reminder, next event on our calendar, Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. We have our member briefing. Once a month, we do a member briefing just to let you know about the many different things that we're involved in here at the Chamber. So very similar format, virtual for now, at least. And so if you get a chance, go to our events page at sbrchamber.com and sign up for a member briefing. It's free. And we'll just talk a little bit about the different things the business community is doing here in the area. So with that, we'll wrap up today. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks again to our guests, and we'll see everybody again soon.